notes. We're going to have the chili cook-off. So it's going to be the chili stew mixed jabazoo. So it's going to be chili cook-off, world's best chili cook-off. We're going to have the stew. So stew is a important item. Then we're going to have the mix of, it can be anything under the sun. It's the zoo, literally. It's whatever you make. And then we can have sub-classifications of what we call that. A real food fest. And we want entertainment. So the idea is to get together and do this at a union guild level, so that we can have a multi-interaction where there's an event that's both very entertaining internally and externally. So, yes, so this is idea. So this could appeal to anything from the Teamsters to the Actors Guild. So this could be writers, scenarios, people doing skits, whatever, basically, where we have really unique types of food. So continuing on these notes, we can have different types of classical chili. So we can have the different grades, because some people are going to do the extremely, fire chili, So we can break this down into different categories if we want. Now, part of the way of thinking about this is people who come up with really good food might have an opportunity for limited types of, food contracts. So now into this, there is a reality that when you get to certain points, that there are different grades of food from the standpoint, if, for instance, if I do Mike's spaghetti, and Mike's spaghetti has lots of meat in it. There could be 4, there could be 7 types of meat in a Mike's spaghetti. So this is a 5.5 hour spaghetti. We're talking 17 to 24 spices. We're talking very complex cooking sequences. Onions 4 different sizes, sautéed multiple ways at multiple times, and reinserted all along the way of the process. And there's these different processes that everything can keep going through multiple times to end up coming up with the finished item. So it's not funny if I sit there and go, tell somebody, it's $100 a plate, and they're not understanding that just the materials that go into that plate that they're eating might be $40 worth of base materials. So now we're talking the cooking and all the other stuff. So there's different ways to look at this. That would not necessarily be a product that you'd put in a jar. Nobody wants to spend $15 or $20 for a jar of Mike's spaghetti. Well, actually, I wouldn't say nobody. There's probably a lot of people that would say that's mind-blowingly good. I would love to have that. And there are some people that would say, I can afford that. I don't care. I can afford that. Yeah. So, but we're not talking general marketability for certain products. This doesn't mean that there wouldn't be limited runs of certain items. So part of the item is that comes from the contest, deals with people who competed, and these people can be an A to Z coming from anywhere. It's a contest, so this competitive food contest, which actually is quite a real zoo, is going to end up having different people, different judge levels, different levels of people providing food available for people to eat. So there's going to be different increments where you have people that have a more standardized type of food that's levelized, where there's extreme care given into how many spices go in there, how much sodium is in there, who can eat this stuff, people that have certain types of palate situations. The idea is we want to keep a track on where this is going. So if somebody's going to come to the event ahead of time, we basically are going to ask them to fill out a questionnaire. This is an online questionnaire about your food disabilities or food likes, so that we can understand your dietary different requirements. And this is going to end up getting you to a sorted list of proposed items that people are going to state will be there. And these can be a general vendor's item. But then we have the contest people. The contest is going to have a variant because when you're cooking in a contest, you may not like what's happening and you end up varying things, and you're going to have to look at the cameras and go all the way through it at the end and try to understand how much of any given material is used at any, over the course of time. So aside from us doing a spectrograph on it to figure out exactly what the spectrograph status is in it, this addresses the area of the variances that can be there, but the idea is to also have levels of consistent provisioning, so that when people go there, that they're not going to have a problem getting enough food that is in their liking, and that basically their food requirements will allow it. So this means that some people that are no sodium and different people are no this or that these dietary specialities can be addressed far in advance, and then basically there can be some form of catering to be able to deal with these various specialized requirements. Now, this is not to say that people wouldn't want to do certain sampling. Okay, the sampling is going to be on a different basis. That's up to y'all, so to speak. But the idea here is to make sure that there's a guaranteed consistency of ample food available. And I also want to have ample food available that can be taken home. So we're talking about independent jarred material, canned material, so to speak, that people can purchase and take home. Also, we can have advanced purchases on some material. This, of course, would be kind of sort of experimental, but we can also have an understanding where people testing something could say, yes, I would like to pre-order some of this, and they're going to get an ID on it. So there's a way to do that. That's going to be looked at as to how that can occur, because there could be certain limitations about it. So with each of these items, there's also going to be the difference between people who have a secret recipe and don't want to disclose versus people who will say, okay, we'll disclose our recipe. By the way, it's mine, it's copywritten, it belongs to me, whatever. We're going to respect people's wishes in these areas. But by basically having a more thorough type of addressing that is a template, we can basically have a computerized, even blockchain implementation of the overall criteria, so that we can have people that can end up linking into things that will have consistency in the type of food that you are going to go ahead and contract to purchase in one form or another. This also helps out in understanding the numbers between pre-purchase orders, live statistics, so to speak, and or almost live statistics, as well as understanding purchase request and actual purchases made at the event or within 24 hours of the event and 72 hours of the event. The key understanding is 24 and 72, because 72 we need to have a cutoff point to understand how to make sure we can tabulate and get a total understanding for sure of where the numbers are, where the likes are, where the pre-purchases are, so that we basically would be able to design runs and canning of these various types of food, because it's a multi-level event, so that we're going to be looking at a lot of different facets and getting this out where it's a two-way street, where people are going to want to get a hold of some of this stuff, and basically have it, at least in some additional extended sampling. And some of this is, again, it's going to be custom stuff. Some of it's going to be generalized. It's going to be generalized run. It's going to be affordable. There's going to be something that's affordable in generalized runs. But then we're going to also have a lot of stuff is going to be custom runs and limited runs. So we want to get that aligned where it's just going to track and run on rails. Now, the idea behind these setting up this coalition of different organizations, unions, guilds, etc., is to consider making some money for different causes for the unions or the guilds. And these can be charitable, or they could be a form of asset diversity building. It could be a form of long-term commitment to some form of decided area, which could be to guarantee more consistent services over long lengths of time, ways to impart and have additional partnerships, ways to consider to say maybe some organizations are going to be different, which means you could read the governance decision sheets from the different organizations that are participating and find out that some of them made different decisions. Some of them might make a decision to say that we want to make a perma-business concept where the income coming in from that is basically going to be applied to lower our dues rate or lower our entrance cost, so that maybe some organizations want to end up eventually making enough stability with certain items to basically perhaps make their memberships free, basically. And in some cases, I actually have some designs I worked with over the years where basically there's a few styles of organizations where if you go through a series of procedures to build certain types of capabilities, certain bonuses, benefits, asset-assisted acquisitions, construction, growth, where basically you can pay your members. You can pay people to attend an event. You can pay people to become a member. Because if they become a member, this means that they're getting locked into the different services that are there. When you're talking about credit union style, extended style credit and guild union banking, the opportunities here is that there's a two-way street. There's a lot of ways for people to get completion guarantourism and various types of assistance, especially if they're disabled, and be able to basically achieve asset construction projects, brand new asset construction projects, where it's for profit. There's a nice little cut going around in different ways, and people are making profits. So the new member is both going to acquire an opportunity to generate and control an asset that is going to realize them to have equity, and or both could be job-related material there, as well as furthering other aspects, because the generalized partnership scenario has basically opportunities that are multifaceted, so there's multiple angles of profit by participation is the way in the way these contracts come down. And I'm very serious about this. You know, some people are trying to understand, well, how is it you're making this overdrive type system? And it's something that's very serious, but it's little steps. You have to go step by step by step and make sure that your organization is solidified. So it's just not something that you necessarily are going to be able to snap your fingers and do overnight. There is a process to doing these, and it's different with different organizations in some ways. Some things will be similar, some things will be exactly the same, but a lot of things are going to have a more specialized consideration. If I'm going to go ahead and go into particulars on differences, since I'm here at the moment, on differences between organizations. For instance, you might look at the Teamsters, and the Teamsters have a lot of different variances in contracts that they're working with because of all the different members and interests that they're basically coming together to fight for. You know, this is really a negotiating organization. But then we also have other organizations such as guilds, where basically there's also very complicated contracts that involve all sorts of rights, all sorts of special consideration, residuals over time. These can become very complex. I wouldn't say that they become, I want to say that they are very complex. So there's a lot of specialized tracking services that have to be dealt with guilds. So